What if the generation that was supposed to love AI is actually the generation most ready to reject it? That is exactly what the newest numbers are starting to show. Gen Z grew up online. They were raised with smartphones, social media, apps, streaming, digital classrooms, and side hustles that barely existed 20 years ago. So naturally, you would think they would be the first group to fully embrace artificial intelligence. But that is not what is happening. A growing number of young workers are not just skeptical of AI. Some are angry about it. Some believe it is making learning harder. Some believe it is threatening their jobs. And according to one survey, a shocking number of Gen Z employees have even admitted to quietly pushing back against AI systems in the workplace. So the question is not, why doesn't Gen Z understand AI? The real question is, what does Gen Z see coming that everyone else is ignoring? Let's get into it. For the last couple of years, we have been told the same story over and over again. AI is the future. AI will make work easier. AI will unlock creativity. AI will save time. AI will create abundance. AI will change everything for the better. And maybe some of that is true. I am not here to pretend AI is useless. It is not. AI can be powerful. It can help people write, research, organize, build, edit, design, brainstorm, automate, and create things faster than ever before. But here is where the story starts to crack. Because the people who are closest to the consequences are not all cheering. A lot of Gen Z workers are looking at AI and saying, wait a minute, this does not feel like freedom. This feels like a trap. And honestly, that reaction should make the tech industry nervous. Because young people usually do not reject new technology just because it is new. They reject it when it feels broken, fake, unfair, or designed for someone else's benefit. Think about it. Gen Z did not reject smartphones. They did not reject social platforms. They did not reject video editing apps, online communities, digital entrepreneurship, or creator tools. This is a generation that can build a brand from a bedroom, edit a video on a phone, find an audience without a television network, and turn a niche interest into income. So if this generation is pushing back against AI, we need to pay attention. Let's start here because this is important. Gen Z is not anti-technology. That is the lazy explanation. It is easy for companies to say, oh, young people just do not understand how useful AI is. But that argument does not really work here. This is the generation that grew up surrounded by technology. They know how fast trends move. They know how quickly platforms rise and fall. They know what it feels like when a tool is actually useful, and they know what it feels like when something is being shoved into their lives because a company wants to look innovative. That is a very different thing. You might be wondering, but if Gen Z uses technology all the time, why would AI be different? Here is the difference. A lot of the technology Gen Z embraced gave them more control. Social media gave people a voice. Creative platforms gave people an audience. Online tools gave people ways to learn, earn, connect, and express themselves. But the version of AI being pushed into many workplaces does not always feel like that. It does not always feel like a tool for the worker. Sometimes it feels like a tool aimed at replacing the worker. And that changes everything. Because there is a huge difference between technology that helps you do your job better and technology that makes you wonder whether your job is worth it. The big promise of AI has been simple. It will save time. That is the pitch. Take boring tasks off your plate. Reduce busy work. It will help employees focus on higher level thinking. Make it more efficient. Save workers. An AI system built around corporations asks, how can we reduce payroll? How can we increase output? How can we monitor employees? How can we move faster with fewer people? How can we make labor cheaper? But an AI system built around workers would ask, how can we reduce burnout? How can we help people learn faster without replacing the learning process? How can we protect entry-level opportunities? How can we make employees more valuable instead of more disposable? How can we give people control over the tools they use? How can we improve work without stripping away dignity? That is the version of AI people might actually trust. And this is where Gen Z may be ahead of the curve. They are not necessarily saying destroy AI. They are saying do not build the future on top of us while pretending it is for us. That is a very different message, and it is one worth listening to. So why should anyone outside Gen Z care? Because what happens to Gen Z in the workplace does not stay with Gen Z. If entry-level jobs disappear, that affects the whole talent pipeline. If workers become dependent on tools they do not understand, that affects quality. If AI increases workload while pretending to reduce it, that affects burnout. If companies use AI mainly to cut labor costs, that affects wages. If young people lose trust in the systems they are entering, that affects the future of work for everyone. This is not just a Gen Z issue. This is a warning about where work may be headed. And honestly, it should matter to anyone trying to build income, switch careers, start a business, create content, freelance, or survive in this economy. Because AI is not just a tool sitting on the sidelines anymore. It is becoming part of hiring, part of education, part of performance reviews, part of content creation, part of customer service, part of finance, part of marketing, part of almost everything. So we have to ask better questions now before the rules are already locked in. So here's the bottom line. Gen Z is not turning against AI because they hate technology. They are turning against the version of AI that feels like it was built for companies first and people second. They are worried about job displacement. They are worried about losing real skills. They are worried about being forced to use tools that create more work instead of less. They are worried about a future where the people at the top get the benefit and everyone else gets told to adapt. And whether you agree with every concern or not, the signal is clear. The generation that should have been AI's easiest audience is not fully buying the pitch. That should make big tech nervous, because when young people reject a product, it usually means something